The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle, where you can access your full potential right now. Finally break free from destructive habits. That dream life, if you want it, you can have it. This is where you transform your health, mind, business, and relationships, or do nothing and keep your life the way it is. But if you're ready for change, you're in the right place. This is where you're gonna learn how to live a habit-based lifestyle. You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.
I find most people are completely oblivious to their environments. We are so reliant on environmental triggers, but very few of us are actually aware of these. And what does this exactly mean? Like, think about times when you go to grocery stores. The one that I like to think about in this situation is Costco, aka if you go there around 11 to 2 or 3 p.m. daily, there's this thing that happens. It's called the senior lunch. And what actually happens is Costco gives out samples, and the seniors walk around and sample everything. Now, the reason why I call this the senior lunch is because typically if you go there between those times, you either see moms or you see seniors. But one of the things that happens in this place is if you end up going there, these samples simply are put out there in this environment for us to try so we can buy. Now, go to this same store, this same Costco, hungry. Go to any grocery store hungry, and the chances are, if you are eating samples, if you are trying the things that they're putting out, you are much more likely to buy food when you sample it and when you are hungry. Like, this is crazy, because you ever notice that samples taste so much better at Costco, at the grocery store, than they ever do at home? And it's typically because all of our senses are being stimulated. The smell, the sight, the taste, the touch, all these things are triggering ourselves and triggering the environment. It's stimulating us to want to do something. And this is oftentimes how habits are triggered, or habits are stimulated in environments. And this same thing happens at the mall. Walk down the mall, like walk down Nordstrom's, walk down any of these places, and perfume, cologne, these all start to stimulate us, so we would like to buy perfume. Ever think of, hey, let me rub some lotion on your hand? You ever see these people at the mall and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, it feels so good. But in reality, you get home and you're like, why the hell did I buy this? So a very important thing to understand here is our environment triggers our experience. Think about this. You ever notice if you go to a bar and you want to drink, even if you don't feel like, even if you're not a big drinker, like if you ever notice, there's times where I may go to a bar or like a beer place. I'm like, I don't even like beer, but I'm kind of craving a beer right now. Or you may go to a Mexican place and you start craving margaritas, or you go to some other place and you crave something else. Go to a candy store or an aisle where there's candy. And then it's hard for you to actually hold back buying candy. You all of a sudden start having your tongue stimulated with what it would taste like to have this chocolate thing, this licorice, or this cinnamon bear. But our environment is constantly stimulating our experience. And so what does this even mean? It means that if I actually want to change habits, instead of focusing on the habit that I want to change, maybe what I have to start focusing on is the environment that is actually associated with the habit. So think about this, these simple things like food. If I use a big spoon, I end up eating more. If I use a smaller spoon, I end up eating less. If I serve myself a big plate of food, I obviously will eat more. If I serve myself a smaller plate of food, I eat less. If I move a bowl of candy farther away from my desk or in a different area than it was normally put, I would eat less candy. If I eat chicken wings and I remove the bones, and I've done this before, from the table, I'll forget how much I ate and I'll end up eating more. If you remove cookies or any other food you want to avoid from your cupboards, chances are you'll stop being stimulated and you won't want it. You won't want it as much. But I remember this thing a few years ago. For many of you that have listened to this podcast, a little over 3.5 years ago, I decided to stop chewing. But the place that I chewed the most and was triggered by the most, I had to understand this one thing. It was in the environment I was in. It was in my gym. It was even in the place where I would place the can of chew every single day. I can remember this white cupboard I would open up and I would slide it into this little compartment, just enough out of the way, but easy to reach to if I needed one. So I had to begin to recognize the trigger. Many of the times, this trigger was stress, maybe a conversation I needed to have, maybe a stressful thought, maybe just lying to myself. But I started to begin cleaning up my environment so I could begin to change the triggers. I could begin to change where things were. And so my environment impacted me. When I'd walk into my office, I'd see this cupboard, I'd open it up, and I would immediately feel and taste this texture on my tongue like, hey, I want this chew. But the trigger never changed. The trigger was still there. Stress was still there. But where I kept my chew had to change. And so I began to put this in a completely different spot. Now, when I decided to quit, I just took it out completely. But as I would go to reach for my can and chew, I could remember leaving a note that said 20 push-ups. And every time I wanted to chew, or I would open that cabinet up, and then I would open it and I would see, oh my God, it's 20 push-ups. So my push-ups became my new addiction. My push-ups became my new stimulation. This went on for about 3 to 4 weeks, and my environment began to change. And so my environment, although I was maybe still doing things in this same environment, it began to change this reaction or this behavior that would take place. And so this went on for 3 to 4 weeks. My cravings went down. My push-ups went from 400 or 500 a day to literally being cut in half, to where 4 weeks it went by, I had no chew and I was done. I didn't use any gum. I didn't use any patches. I just made some slight changes in my environment. Now, think about how often you do this. You get up the same way every single day. You get out of the same bed. You get out of the same side. You access your phone right away and you get on social media or Instagram. And doing this for a week is fine, but doing this for months, doing this for years, it becomes a habit. But I want to ask you something. What if you got up on the other side of the bed? What if you got up on the left side or the right side and you put your phone in airplane mode, and maybe you put it in the other side of the room or completely out of the room? Would you still want to get on social media first thing in the morning? You see, because what happens is when we begin to change our environment, we are changing our experience. Our environment creates our experience. And so if I have the same exact environment, I do the same exact things, it's stimulating the same experience that I go through every day. And if I want to change that, I have to begin by changing my environment, because my environment is constantly triggering my next experience. And if I want my experience to be something different, a different habit to start, I have to start cleaning up that environment. So my environment, your environment, creates the same experience or a new experience. And depending on what environment we are creating, That's what dictates the habit that it begins to kick off. So today I want to begin. This is going to be a 2-part series on this. I want to begin by simply cleaning up your home environment. You're going to want to grab a piece of paper and you're going to want to walk around your house and go through the first 7, 8, 9, 10 habits that you do every single day. And I kind of walk through mine first just to give you an example. So for me, it was waking up, shutting off my alarm on my phone, getting out of bed on the left side, grabbing my socks, grabbing my shorts, going to the bathroom, brushing my teeth, walking downstairs, grabbing my bag for work, then my keys, then getting in my car. So those are my first things that I do every day. Now think about this. If I want any of these habits to change, I have to change up my environment. I have to change up the stimulation. I have to change up the order. So I could literally go through and begin putting masking tape on each thing that I did. And as I do this, I would just simply write out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I would begin to change up the order of what I'm doing in the morning. And what this begins to do is change my environment and change the order of how things are kicking off. Recently, I just moved into a new house. And so my normal routine is all of a sudden all out of whack. I'm in this new environment and I'm experiencing these new triggers. So kind of what's happening is I'm going to bed and I'm not as comfortable as I was. I'm getting up and I'm not as comfortable as I am. I'm trying to figure out where everything's at. But it's uncomfortable, it's triggering, and I'm finding sometimes that I get up, I'm angry, I'm frustrated with things in the house, and I don't even know what the hell's going on. But today I want you to do this one thing. As you have left this tape in these 7, 8, 9, 10 places, I want you to start rerouting this. I want you to change up the order that you're doing things in. And when you come back on the next episode and you listen in, I'm going to teach you how to do this consistently and how to do this, when you feel like you're stuck in the same habits, when you feel like you're stuck in the same mindset. It's a way to begin to shift you out of that. And it's just making some simple changes in our environment, because environment is what creates our experience. So I want to thank you guys for listening today. If you guys are looking to connect further with a group of like-minded people, join myself and so many others in the Habit-Based Lifestyle Secrets group, where I will be dropping daily habits to help you live to your full potential. If you want to be one of our next case studies and begin living this habit-based lifestyle, reach out to me. Questions, comments, requests, reviews, feel free to contact me, Jesse at habitbasedlifestyle.com. If you find this episode is adding some value to your life, is giving you some results, it's changing how you feel and how you see things, please feel free to leave me a 5-star review. I love these, and I would appreciate this. Until next episode, have a great day.
The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse